Hello and welcome to Falcon Blues TV. I'm Callum Davis and I am back with another match preview for this weekend's game where Everton are going to be hosting Brentford in the fourth round of the FA Cup. It's a 3 PM kickoff on Saturday the 5th of February, but we are not live on any TV, so you might have to find a stream for this one. Before we get into the video, if you wouldn't mind going down, liking and subscribing, we'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into it. So this game marks Brentford's first visit to Goodison since 1954. We did win that last game. I think 6-1 was the score. But obviously the most recent game that the sides have played was at their place where we lost 1-0. Obviously it was a bit of a shocking performance. I thought we probably didn't deserve to lose, but we didn't really deserve to win. Obviously we should have had that penalty. Their penalty was a bit suspect. And I thought they were a poor side. They were just slightly less poor than we were on the day. And both sides don't really come into this with a great deal of form. Both kind of hovering around the bottom end of the table. We're 4 behind them in the league at the moment, points-wise, but we do have 3 games in hand. Under Benitez, I probably would have been a bit worried about that. But the new manager coming in, a little bit more, enthusiasm has come back into the club now. I feel like we're in a good position to maybe kick on a little bit, get the good feeling back at Everton and hopefully pick up points from these games in hands that we do have. We obviously haven't won since December, that win against Arsenal in the league. And in 14 games, we've only won that one game, stretching back as far as September. We did beat Hull, but again, wasn't really a convincing performance. It was... I'd argue that we weren't a better side in that game. We were lucky to go through. It took a Townsend screamer to separate the sides in extra time, so that's nothing to go by. But all we can hope for is that Lampard comes in and has maybe got some kind of, attacking play. I feel like the golfing quality should be enough if we actually play on the front foot, which we've not done for quite a few years now, really. We should be able to beat these so-called smaller teams with on paper much worse sides than us. The last game before this season that the sides had played in any stadium was a 1-1 draw in the League Cup, funnily enough. It was at Griffin Park, which obviously is not their stadium anymore. Back in 2010, we did lose on penalties, so it doesn't really bode well. But this is the first time that the clubs will be meeting in the FA Cup, so it's going to be quite an interesting game. I don't think it'll be anything exciting, but it'll be interesting to see how Lampard can get his style across on the players in about 4 or 5 days that he's had. Injury news is obviously quite damning for Everton. We're missing out on a few key players, which might make us struggle to play Lampard's. He likes the 4-3-3, and we are quite short in the midfield department. Obviously, Decore and Davis are both out injured, but the 2 new signings, Dele Alli, Van der Beek, they're both cup tied, which means that even though they have signed for us, they won't be available for the game, which is a big shame, but we'll hopefully get to see some of them against Newcastle in midweek. Iwobi's back from Africa Cup of Nations. You can make of that what you will. I think Gbamin will probably have to fill in, but it's just a struggle to whether he can last the full game. I'm interested to see how Lampard does it, whether he sticks with his 4-3-3 and tries to fit someone like Townsend into that hole, or even like a Gordon in the 10 role. But it'll be interesting to see. On the other side, Brentford, obviously Onyeka, who's also Nigerian, will return with Iwobi after the Cup of Nations. Jorgensen and De Silva are both out, and they've got doubts for Rico Henry and Janelt. They're quite big misses, and obviously the starting goalkeeper Raya, he's also been out for quite a while now, and he'll continue to be out, which means that Jonas Loss will probably start for them, which is quite an interesting one, him coming back. The big interesting point of conversation probably will be Christian Eriksen now. I'll be interested to see if we do see any of him, but yeah, I think it'll be quite nice for him to come back, but the odds are that he'll come back after having a heart attack and he'll score the winner. So we'll see if we get to see any of Eriksen, but it'll be nice to see him back on the pitch if we do see any of him. So for the teams, obviously, as I said, Lampard likes the 4-3-3. I think he'll probably stick with quite a safe lineup, which means he won't make huge risks because it is his first game in front of Goodison. You imagine Begovic will probably continue his run in the cup competitions in goal. I thought he was brilliant against Hull, probably kept us in the tie, and then made a few good stops near the end to stop it going to penalties. So I think it'd be harsh to drop him. You imagine Michaelenko probably will start at left back, but again, you could see Godfrey move there. But as the only natural left back in the club, you think Lampard will probably just put him there. So then you'd probably think it'd be one of Keane and Godfrey or Mina. Whether he wants to risk Mina, I'm sure the medical staff will have told him about his history. So I could probably imagine Keane and Godfrey being the pairing. And then obviously I think at right back, it could be a risk to go with Patterson. But as it is the Cup, I think he'll probably go with Coleman, but I would like to see Patterson. I think he really impressed a lot of people in the under-23s game. He played against Spurs, grabbing an assist. I think he's exactly what we need at fullback, especially with the way that Lampard's going to want to play. In the middle of the park, Alan and Gomez are kind of dead certains to start because they're all that we've really got. And like I said, we could see Kabame or we could see Gordon in the 10. I think we're more likely to probably see someone like Townsend, who's quite dependable, can probably fit into a few different positions. And then the front three will probably be Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison and Gray. But again, you could probably see them coming off after a while. You don't want to risk them, especially Calvert-Lewin, who's still kind of working his way back from injury. And Brentford's team is interesting. I think they'll probably go with a little bit of a weakened squad, and as they are as injury-stricken as we are, it'll probably be a weakened squad without their choosing. So Lossell will probably be in goal, and you imagine the back three will be Ayer, Pinnock and Janssen. Well, that leaves the midfield as quite an interesting one because obviously they play like 5 across the midfield with the fullbacks. You imagine Canos will be on one fullback and maybe Roeslov on the other one, which probably leaves Enyeka, Norgard and Janelt to be the midfield 3. I think it's quite difficult to predict their team with how awkward the formation is, but obviously the front 2 kind of names itself, the 2 main players, Mbemo and Tony. They might get rested, but that is the team you would probably most expect to see, and one which I think they probably will play something similar to that. Now, in terms of a prediction, I think it's quite hard because both sides are in such poor form. We have just changed manager, and it does seem like there's a feel-good factor back about Everton. I think atmosphere should be absolutely booming, but I just think he needs to get the squad, the team news right, because obviously under Duncan Ferguson against Villa, I think a lot of the enthusiasm was drained from the fans because everyone was a bit questionable. Everyone was a bit questioning the decisions that Duncan made, and it made everyone, flatten the atmosphere a little bit. And then obviously we lost 1-0, and the fans didn't really get behind the team. I think they're going to have to this time, but I think they will. There'll be a big reception at the start when Lampard gets announced. Hopefully the 2 new signings will be in attendance as well. And I think if we get going and we play on the front foot, the new manager enthusiasm and the general golfing quality on paper, you'd imagine we'd be able to grind out a win despite our awful form in the run-up to this. If I had to go with a prediction of, say, 2-0, we probably will concede, so maybe 3-1, 2-1, 3-1. I'd probably stick with 3-1, but you can let us know in the comments down below what you think the score's going to be, what you think about the new signings, the new manager, everything in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and up the Toffees.